Thank you for giving us this time to speak with you about red flags that we identified during the credentialing and privileging process. As you see on the screen, there are some areas that we look for on an application when a provider requests privileges at Upper Chesapeake. A few of them would be if the application's not signed, if there's gaps in their application greater than 30 days, or if there's information that we will ultimately find out later during the credentialing process that's not true on their application.
So the credentialing department, Janine and her staff, put together a packet for each applicant, and the members of the credentials committee review those applications prior to us meeting as a committee. And we're looking at the application, we're looking at various things that Janine looked at, but also at references, exactly what the references say, for example. Again, unexplained time gaps, if there have been relinquishing of licensure, either voluntary or involuntary. And we're looking at also how many malpractice suits the physician has had, and we'll explain a little bit more about the numbers of lawsuits in another slide.
Obviously, we want to resolve these red flags or pink flags when we find them. One of the first things that we need to do is that we need to refer to our bylaws. Our bylaws give us the privileging and credentialing criteria that every provider needs to meet. That information, the bylaws, is given with the application when a provider requests the application. So this information, should they read the bylaws, is not anything new. If they don't meet the criteria, we cannot process their application. If the application is incomplete, we cannot process their application. In our bylaws, we have a 60-day notification. If the provider is notified within as part of the process to resolve these red flags, we also require a narrative from the provider for any information that we find that's not favorable. We ask the provider for information regarding any gap. If they were at a place that we were not made aware of initially, we will go back out and look for that affiliation and verify it. If they're on vacation, we need to know that as well. Sometimes people take leave for various reasons. Also, with our providers from foreign countries, they also need time to relocate to the United States, take their USMLE exam, so there's an expected gap.
So Janine mentioned malpractice cases, and one of the things that we look at is it's very specialty dependent on how many cases a certain provider may have. For example, the high-risk specialties like cardiothoracic surgery, neurosurgery, OBGYN, you would expect those people to have many more cases brought to them over a span of time, and this slide illustrates that, and we can kind of compare it to the national average. On the other hand, there's very low-risk specialties like pediatrics, pathology, psychiatry, where you would not expect very many cases over a span of years. And so again, when we're looking at the malpractice cases, it's very specialty dependent.
It's in the applicant's best interest to withdraw their application. And I say this because if a provider's application is denied, this will be a cause to send a report to the National Practitioner Database, which is the NPDB, and that will follow that provider for the rest of their life. And any other organization in which they apply to, they would need to send a narrative as to why their privileges were denied. In our credentialing world, that's not a good thing. So we allow the provider to withdraw their application and pretty much move on.